I'm Howard Hale, and thanks for joining me for today's edition of the Horseman's Corner. First half of the program, actually 3/4 of the program, going to be talking with some folks over at Mans Creek Horses at Douglas, Wyoming, Annette Coker and Kevin Meyer. Let's get right into today's edition of the Horseman's Corner. With us on the program today, Annette Coker and Kevin Meyer, Mans Creek Horses at Douglas, Wyoming, and CV Equine Ventures as well. Annette, let's start with you first. Looks like you guys have kind of partnered up and putting some things together, you and Kevin.
Good morning. Yes, we have.
Okay, let's get into your background first. Give me some of your background, would you, Annette?
I initially started out with Arabians, rode them most of my life. After high school, went and served several apprenticeships with horse trainers. Ended up in Kentucky on a big Arabian horse farm there. I was there for about 8 years, traveled back and forth to Poland buying and selling horses, was very involved in the showing of the Arabian horses, and also got my jock's license when I was there, and raced thoroughbreds and Arabs for 6 or 7 years, and then I relocated to Montana and started my own place. Ended up selling that place 2005, I guess, and got into the ranch horse, more of the ranch horse and that lifestyle, and the progression goes on. Met my late husband in 2010, who actually happened to be Kevin's best friend of about 20 years. Hal suddenly passed in 2016, and at that point in time, I was doing the clinics by myself, and Kevin and I partnered up and started doing the clinics together, and now we're together full-time training horses and doing clinics.
So your background is really varied. Everything from looks like what, being a jockey to showing Arabians to the Western lifestyle.
Correct. Then I got into the ranch roping and ended up on a ranch in Montana for a couple of years, and have progressively worked myself more towards the roping and the performance industry.
Okay, let's talk about what you guys are doing there at Mans Creek Horses now. What are some of the is it horse training, putting on clinics? What's your focus?
Well, the main focus is horse training, and we've kind of cut back on our clinic schedule a little bit, although we still really enjoy doing those. And, but the training is really our main focus, and our true loves, both of us, is what we really enjoy doing, and we're heading back into the show pen with some ranch horse stuff, some stock horse shows. And we're very excited that in January, Nettie is going to be one of the featured presenters at the Art of the Cowgirl exposition down in Arizona.
Well, now that's interesting. Well, since you brought up the subject, let's talk about the Art of the Cowgirl, would you, Annette?
Sure. Art of the Cowgirl is an event that was started by Tammy Pate, and it is an event to showcase basically the Western lifestyle and the women that have influenced that lifestyle. She does stewardships that involve artists and gear makers and silversmiths and horse trainers, and basically it's an event to showcase women in the Western culture. She invited me to participate in that, but it's not necessarily women. It's their roles with their partners inside of either the ranching lifestyle or the showing or the training. So I'm sure honored to be a part of that this year. Kevin and I will also be doing asked us to do a one-day clinic at the same time that their World's Greatest Horseman competition is going on. And then we will be presenting Friday, Saturday, and Sunday out there.
Well, it sounds like it ought to be a fun event. When is it?
It's in January.
Okay, let's go back and talk a little bit about the horse training, where that is the focus that you guys have. Talk about some of your philosophy of training these horses, would you? And we'll start with Annette. How did you arrive at the point that you are now? What's influenced you to get you to train the way you train now?
So much of my influence comes from having a little bit of a negative taste in my mouth in regards to the show horses and initially how they were handled and the pressure that was put on them. And then I kind of, my pendulum swung a different direction for a while, and I got very involved in what people call the natural horsemanship end of things. And then kind of felt like I brought my pendulum back to the middle, where I feel like the way we try to bring horses along now is more in accordance to physically what they're capable of doing. Kevin and I both certainly believe that horses should be, first and foremost, have a job. We use all of our horses on our cows. We use horses to gather. So wanting them to be pretty well-rounded individuals where we can get out and get something done with them, and maybe a week later we're at a horse show with them.
And how do you go about melding that natural horsemanship that you were talking about? And I don't know if that's kind of a coined term, but the horsemanship where you're really trying to get along with that horse and read the horse and get into their thinking. Talk about that a little bit, would you? How you put that together with your showing?
Well, here's the basic fundamentals of what we think about and try to act on every day. And I don't mean any offense to anyone when I describe this. This is a bit of a generality, but in general, what you think of when nowadays it's kind of become with natural horsemanship that it's all about being very patient and waiting and not putting undue pressure on the horses. Now, that's obviously a generality. The generality on the horse show world is that they put way too much pressure on them way too early. So what we're kind of trying to meld is using all of those principles of working both mentally and physiologically with the young horses when we're starting them, but then starting to add in that pressure that is going to be facing them when they do go to get shown or they do go and really start working on the ranch. So we're trying to take what we feel is the best of both worlds and put those two things together.
Well, how's it working?
It's working great. For both Kevin and I, regardless of discipline or what those horses are inevitably going to do, we still believe in the foundation. The foundation is something that we start on the ground. Those horses we really go through them on the ground. We introduce pressure to them. We help them find the releases. It's a real natural progression for the horses in the way we start them. And then generally speaking, we let the horses tell us what direction they're going to be the most suited for. And those horses that have a natural tendency to be more athletic, obviously it's going to be easier for them to do their jobs. We try not to take horses and put them above their level of physical talent. And therefore, the jobs that are dictated for those horses are certainly based on what they're physically the most adaptable to. But for both of us, the fundamentals and the way we prepare those horses to be ridden, regardless of discipline, that foundation is always the same, and it's very connective and it's very ensuing. And then individually, based on where that horse just tells us is the best direction for him to go.
This is a good time to take a break, the first break of the day. Let's get that done, and I'll be back with Annette Coker and Kevin Meyer in just a moment. You're listening to the Horseman's Corner. You're at Hale Multimedia and Hale Broadcasting. We're expanding our business, and we're looking for a qualified salesperson. Doesn't have to be somebody that wants to work full-time. Can be somebody that's retired and wants to work in the agricultural sector, selling advertising on agsearch.us, Horseman's Corner, Cattleman's Corner, and some of the Hale Broadcasting programs. So if you're interested and think you're qualified, give me a call at 308-220-8262, 308-220-8262. This is a really good opportunity for the right individual. That number one more time, 308-220-8262. Welcome back to the Horseman's Corner. I'm Howard Hale, host of the program. Let's continue with Annette Coker and Kevin Meyer at Mans Creek Horses. Let's talk about how you progress with your horses. What age do you like to start the horses, guys?
You know, for us, we like to start them as long 2-year-olds, early 3-year-olds. You know, and that also varies individually on mentally and physically how mature those horses are. So, you know, we're not opposed to starting long 2-year-olds, and some of them need to wait till they're 3.
That makes a lot of sense. They're not, in your view, then they're probably not physically and mentally ready until they get to be that age.
Oftentimes they're not, and you know that's kind of a case-by-case thing for Kevin and I. You know, oftentimes we'll take a horse in just to kind of get it prepared on the ground and evaluate it. And if that horse is just telling us that mentally and physically he's not ready to go on, we just feel like we've done some good groundwork with him, but that horse may need a little more time. Other horses, they're ready physically and mentally to go right on with it. But that progression also, that training takes place in intervals. You know, we like to start them and give them 15 or 20 rides, and some of them get kicked back out again, and we progress them, you know, maybe 30 days at a time throughout their 3-year-old year. Some of them are ready for a job their 3-year-old year. It just varies, and we try not to keep that in a box. That's a case-by-case thing for both Kevin and I, the way we think about it.
Kevin, what events do you guys prepare these horses for?
Pretty much any of the Western performance classes with cattle, the range cow horse, the stock horse, the ranch horse, and bit of the cutting. I would say really our main niche right now is the versatility and the stock horse. And we know that we can't spread ourselves too thin and try to do all of the events. I come from a background of ranching, as you know, and then got into performance, and I've shown reiners and cow horses and cutters. But for our program, it really seems like the versatility horses and the stock horses and the range cow horses, those really fit together nicely, and they fit kind of our training program the best.
You stay tuned. We're going to have more for you in a moment. You're listening to the Horseman's Corner.